States Global Institute, a Global Leadership Council in Washington in 2017, I was conferred with the Global Human Rights Award.
Brief. One, I want to be remembered as being an Attorney General that stops the drift of this nation into disintegration, taking into consideration what is being manifested.
Predictions have begun in earnest for the positions Buhari's 43 ministerial nominees will occupy. Of all the ministerial slots, however, the office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice remains one of the most coveted. Former Attorney General Abubakar Malami SAN and Festus Keyamo SAN have been fingered as the best men for the job. Rootstv takes a look at the background, antecedents and political plays of the two senior advocates in predicting who will be Nigeria's next AGF. Abubakar Malami SAN. Malami's background. Malami's emergence as Attorney General in 2015 came as no shock due to the long-standing relationship he shared with President Buhari. Malami was a legal advisor to the CPC, a party founded by Buhari in 2010. It was reported that when Buhari lost the 2011 presidential elections to Goodluck Jonathan, Malami was one of the three senior advocates who represented him at the election tribunal, despite his lack of funds. Buhari later won the presidency in 2015, and Malami's appointment was seen by many as his reward for loyalty. Malami's milestones. Malami claimed that during his tenure as AGF and Minister of Justice, over 63 terrorism-related cases were instituted against suspected terrorists and 59 convictions were secured. He also claimed that over 4,400 criminal cases were prosecuted during his 4-year tenure. The former AGF is also credited with the establishment of the Presidential Committee on Anti-Corruption. Malami's controversy. Abubakar Malami is undoubtedly one of Nigeria's most controversial attorney generals. Here are some of Malami's most controversial moves. Malami controversially approved the payment of $17 million to 2 Nigerian lawyers for the repatriation of the Abacha loot from Switzerland. The lawyers, who were later identified as Malami's former colleagues from his time with the CPC, were paid by the former AGF to undertake a task that had already been completed by another lawyer. Malami also set tongues wagging when he was fingered as the mastermind behind the reinstatement and promotion of Abdul Rashid Maina, former pensions boss, who was declared wanted for 2 billion naira pension fraud. The AGF famously filed a lawsuit to stop the Senate from investigating the pension scandal, arguing that it lacked legislative competence. Many saw this as a brazen show of support for corruption. The former AGF was also criticized during the Malabo oil scandal for allegedly convincing Buhari to drop all charges filed against individuals and firms implicated in the $1.1 billion Malabo oil scam. The AGF made this decision on the basis that there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute the accused persons, and continuing the case would damage Nigeria's relationship with international investors. Malami has also developed a notoriety for disobeying court orders. The ex-AGF famously refused to approve the release of Sambo Dasuki and Ibrahim El-Zakzaki, despite being granted bail by the court in the public and national interest. Malami has also been faulted for withdrawing high-profile corruption cases, including Senator Danjuma Goje's case, Godstay Orubebe's 2 billion naira fraud case, and the forgery of the 8 Senate rules case against Bukola Saraki and Ike Ekweremadu. Festus Keyamo SAN. Keyamo's background. Keyamo has enjoyed a largely successful legal career as a human rights lawyer and social activist. Some of his high-profile clients include the late MKO Abiola, Anthony Enahoro, Asari Dokubo, and Ralph Uwazurike of Masol. He became an SAN in 2017. In April 2018, Keyamo was appointed as the Director of Strategic Communications of Buhari's 2019 re-election bid. Festus Keyamo was a key supporter of President Buhari during his 2019 re-election campaign. He famously remarked that you do not need WAEC to be president in Nigeria in response to President Buhari's certificate scandal. Keyamo's milestones. Keyamo had pledged that if made AGF, he would decongest the Supreme Court, decongest the prisons, and decongest courts across the country in order to ensure speedy dispensation of justice. He also promised to strike a balance between governance and activism. Keyamo's controversies. Unlike Malami, Keyamo has been largely controversy-free. It can, however, be recalled that activist Charlie Boy accused Keyamo of paying him 100 million naira to conduct a smear campaign against Atiku Abubakar. Keyamo, however, denied knowledge of this statement, and Charlie Boy later retracted his claim. Malami versus Keyamo. Despite accusations from civil society organizations who have described Malami as a cog in the wheel of the president's anti-corruption fight, the president has turned a deaf ear and reappointed Malami minister. The ex-AGF has been conservative in its approach to legal reforms, and that is expected to continue if he retains his office. Keyamo, on the other hand, has a long history of radicalism and activism, and he is expected to bring this to the office of AGF. The senior advocate has also been famous as an EFCC prosecutor, and his reputation for ruthless prosecution of corruption cases will most likely reflect if he emerges AGF. However, President Buhari's ministerial appointment of 9 ex-governors and 10 ex-ministers is proof that the president rewards proven loyalty and he values continuity. It is therefore likely that despite the controversy trailing the ex-AGF, Malami will be reappointed AGF. Rootstv, Nigeria.